Yeah, so one of the more interesting findings we've had in my research program is the idea that of exploring these naturalistic interventions. So you have therapists, you have life coaches, you've got apps, and one of the things that we're interested in is what happens in everyday life that are basically help you cope with crises, help you kind of improve your quality of life, help you ameliorate stress, and just navigate social interactions. So you think of exercise, omega-3s, fatty acids, good social interactions, church, temples, reading. So we've been interested in two different things. One was what we call mind-blowing sexual experiences. So we've been studying really intimate and really pleasurable kind of orgasmic sexual experiences. And the second one is making effort and progress towards what we'll call a purpose in life. So your central life aim or striving. And without any interventions whatsoever other than looking at from day to day, moment to moment over the course of your day, if you have one of these two experiences, what does your life look like if you're suffering from emotional difficulties? So we selected people that either have excessive social anxiety problems, which can be defined as the belief that some perceived character flaw that you have is visible to other people, and then you're going to be judged and evaluated because of it. So everyone experiences social anxiety. It's evolutionarily adaptive. It's the idea you get kind of this early warning system that you potentially could do something that could ruin your membership in a tribe. So some people experience it more intensely, more infrequently, or for longer periods of time. What most people do to treat social anxiety, the most empirically supported interventions, is to deal with the anxiety itself. So deep breathing, clarifying kind of whether you have illogical thoughts, whether you have excessive standards, whether you have this, your belief that the probability that a social blunder will happen is highly likely, and that if you make a social blunder, it'll have really adverse negative consequences. So this is all the element of having social anxiety problems. What we found is that without even touching anxiety, when you look at people defining what is their fundamental purpose that they have in life, and all we do is monitor on a day-to-day basis their effort and progress towards that purpose. On days with people with a diagnosis, a clinical psychiatric diagnosis of social anxiety disorder, on days when they commit significant effort towards their purpose in life, you see about a 20% drop in their social anxiety symptoms the next day. 20% drop in their social comparisons that they evaluate other people as being stronger, more attractive, more intelligent, more interesting than them. About a 15 to 20% bump in self-esteem and about a 25% bump in their sense of meaning in life the next day. And what's cool about this research, it's that even when we have dips in our lives, they could be shallow dips, depression and anxiety, or it could be moments of depression and anxiety, or it could be an emotional disorder, PTSD, social anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder. We still have fluctuations where some days are better than others, and it appears to be that just not even making progress towards a purpose, but just considerable effort, like devoting space, time, effort, energy, finite resources towards a purpose, starts to eliminate those symptoms without even touching the disorder itself. And so right now, we're replicating this by using apps to figure out, can we make this more sustainable? And then for the sexual experiences, what we found is, so people with high levels of social anxiety symptoms, not a disorder, just on a dispositional or personality level, socially anxious people, what we find is that when they have these really intimate sexual experiences, that there's about a 15% drop in their social anxiety symptoms the next day. And there's also a drop in their social comparisons such that they no longer make these downward social comparisons. I view myself as less attractive or interesting than other people. Now here's what was really interesting. We thought that the action would be with really intimate, closely connected sexual experiences. The hypothesis was that when you go through your adult social life, it's very rare that you have objective evidence that you're valued, cared for, and understood by another person, except for your parents and maybe every once in a while a stable romantic partner. But the way that a stable romantic partner would show it to you is that they would give you access to comfort with being touched, with touching you, and kind of access to their body. And so what we found was that intimacy led to a drop, but extremely pleasurable, hedonistic, orgasmic sexual experiences, the drop was even bigger. So it's not just about intimacy. It's not just about kind of necessarily the growth-oriented, the purpose-related kind of positive experiences that lead to kind of a real increase in mental health and an increase in well-being, but also hedonistic pleasures. And I think the reason for this one is particular is that we really have this fundamental need to relate to other people. We rarely have objective evidence, and the idea that someone gives us access to their body is. So when it's a pleasurable one, you have about a 27% drop the next day in their social anxiety symptoms. So you can see from day to day that people vary, and it's basically is that if we can learn what are the naturalistic interventions that we can engage in, we can start to manipulate our lives in such a way to increase the probability of positive experiences and then the durability of those positive experiences such that when we have a bad day, these positive experiences are bookmarked, bolded, italicized, easy to recall, and over time, our self-identity will change such that we view ourselves as someone that's lovable, that's interesting, that deserves compassion, that is capable to love, that has this profound sense of purpose in life, this mission in their lives. And that to me, as a form of kind of what's the advice that I give to people based on this research, is that the building blocks to well-lived life are moments. And this kind of research shows that it's not about reconstructing your life in such a way that we're going to replace our friends that are kind of okay, but you know them and you've kind of already absorbed everything you feel that you can get from them. It's not about reorganizing, switching jobs to something that will be more meaningful and exciting than what you have now, because there's something about the devil that you know about, the political structure that you know versus starting from scratch. And we're not talking about moving into a bigger house. We're not talking about moving into with your romantic partner as opposed to just enjoying a relationship as is, or if you're living with a romantic partner, move to the next step and have kids. We're saying is that it's moments where the anticipatory period of savoring positive experiences, to build that so that we know that when it comes to, for example, whether it's sex or effort towards a purpose in life, there are 3 stages. There's the anticipatory phase of kind of what I expect to happen and hope to happen and my intentions going in there. Now we can really dive in there. We can dive in there psychologically and really enjoy and relish the uncertainty of a perceived pleasurable event that's around the corner. And that's usually the most pleasurable part. The experience itself, to be fully present. And whether it's when it's sexual activity, a lot of times, particularly women more than men, is that our minds go elsewhere and we're kind of judging ourselves of, but does this live up to my ideal? And am I performing good enough? What does my partner really think about? You don't know what the other person is thinking, and our mind plays tricks on us. The idea of being fully present during an objectively pleasurable experience for yourself. And then there's the postmortems, which is the aftermath when we think about, well, what does this mean? And we reflect on what could have happened, what did happen, how do I integrate this with my sense of self, my relationships, who I want to be now, who I want to be in the future. And these periods of reflection, if we can spend time reflecting of what went right and what were the most energizing moments, by reflecting on them, even for 2 to 3 minutes about that in the aftermath of an event, what that does is it solidifies that memory so it's stronger and easier to retrieve, as opposed to just moving on to the next experience. So really taking advantage of the anticipatory pleasure of experiences and build that and enjoy the period of what's coming around the corner, being fully present during experiences themselves, and then really enjoying the reflection part. It's why we take photographs. It's why we keep journals. It's why we tell stories to our friends, and realize that all of those things, taking photographs, keeping a journal, sharing our stories with other people, those are all naturalistic interventions that allow us to fully contain and kind of elaborate, build, and kind of integrate experiences that are pleasurable and meaningful into our lives.